Welcome to Healthy Leagues, the one-stop podcast that bridges the gap between small to mid-sized businesses and digital marketing. In this interconnected age of the internet and artificial intelligence, if you are looking to increase your online lead flow and close deals, or just someone interested in the fusion of business growth and digital marketing, this podcast is your avenue for success. Now let's get to our host, Brian Atkinson.
Welcome everyone to the Healthy Leads podcast brought to you by Ellington Digital. Today we have an interview with David Carnely, the CEO and founder of Fingerstring, which is an automated voice-based telephone service which features for supporting elderly and homebound individuals with daily check-in calls and reminders. Super excited to have him on to talk about this project today. Thank you so much for being here today, David.
Well, thanks for having me.
Let us set the stage for everyone listening, and let's go back 2 years to October 2021 when Fingerstring.net is launched. What was really the calling to start Fingerstring?
Well, I had a partner that I was working with, and his mother was living, we were both here in Omaha, Nebraska. His mother was living down in Phoenix. My mother and stepdad had a property out in the country, south of town. Omaha is kind of a nice sized city, but you get out of the city limits, it gets country pretty fast. And they were just both getting to an age and needed a little bit of support. And we were just kind of talking about that one day. My mom had some health issues. His mom had some health issues. And, it's so easy. It's hard to admit, but, like days will go by, weeks will go by, and you just, working a job, running a business, you find it hard to just call your mom every day.
Yeah.
As much as they love it, it's hard to do. And so we just kind of thought, man, if only there was a way to help with that, Yeah. And my partner's mom in particular was having problems remembering to take her medication and was even missing appointments. So those needs all kind of came together and to form sort of the genesis of the idea of what we needed to do. In addition to Fingerstring, I run a software development shop, and we had done a few projects using different voice technologies, some Alexa skills, things like that. And so we thought we would find a way to use a voice technology to help with that. The thing about Alexa skills is that they can't proactively initiate a conversation. I don't know if you use Amazon Echo, you've seen that yellow light, that yellow ring come on. Like as soon as the Amazon guy gets to your door and he walks away, the little yellow light comes on your Alexa, because Alexa can't just speak up and say, "Hey, Ryan, you've got a package," right? And we thought that would be a necessary component. So we started looking around, and Twilio has an outbound calling API that we could use, and a service for creating calls through code. So we mashed up Google Dialogflow technology, which is a speech recognition and processing engine similar to Alexa. So it can recognize what you're saying and map that to various intents. And so we mashed that up with Twilio outbound calling, and that's how we came up with the idea of Fingerstring. So we can actually make a phone call to a phone number and put that person right into a dialogue session with our code.
That's super interesting. I love that you're making these two connections to use this API to actually use it to make proactive calls and have a dialogue with someone to check up on them.
Yeah, it's I think it's a big step, a big differentiator between what we do and an Alexa skill. Because like I said, Alexa skills can only be reactive. Mm-hmm. You have to say, "Hey, Alexa," whatever.
Yeah. I'm curious a little bit more. So take me through the dialogue that you guys coded up, I guess, or created. What's some of the dialogue that you guys have for these outbound calls to check up?
Yeah, well, with all of the different voice tools, whether it's Alexa or Google or Siri or Cortana, they do a lot more than just keyword matching, right? So it's not, if you remember the old days, it would be say or press 1 for customer service, and it's really just looking for that for that word or that tone.
Yeah.
Well, with these, modern day tools, it's mapping broad ranges of what you might say and trying to extract your actual intent from that. So one of the features we have is that we have a calendar integration. So when one of our customers is on the phone, she can actually say, do I have any appointments? Or what are my appointments? Or is there anything on my schedule? Or what am I doing today? Or, any of these kind of, statements that sort of mean the same thing. And our system will interpret those and map that to the intent that they want a list of their appointments from their calendar. So we go out to their integrated calendar. For me, I use it all the time, and it's integrated with my Google Calendar.
Yeah.
So our voice on the phone, which we haven't come up with a name yet for, right? Like they all sort of have names, and we don't really have a name for our voice yet. So Fingerstring will come back and say, you have 3 appointments today starting at 2:00 with Ryan.
Yeah.
Or we can conference call in a family member. So if you had your grandmother on there, it would say, would you like me to call Ryan for you? And they can just say yes. Or later at some other point in the call, they can say, connect me with Ryan. And it'll automatically conference call you in using the Twilio conference calling API to call your phone and dump you right into that same call, with your grandmother.
Interesting. Yeah, that's what we were talking about it before the podcast, but like I feel from a consumer standpoint, like this is such a cool product. My parents aren't there in age yet, but give it about 5-7 years and they might be. And this is just something from a consumer standpoint that I would love to be able to just have these automated calls. Cause I don't want to call I love my mom to death, love her to death, but like to call her every day is like a lot. So having an automated way.
It's a lot. I mean, your mom's she's going to watch this episode and she's going to be like, Ryan, it's not a lot to call me,
Sorry,
but it's just hard to make time for that every day. I mean, I'm sure we all make to-do lists and with some pretty high priority items that some days just don't get done. And if call mom is on that list every day, it's not going to get done every day. And that, my mom's going to see this too, and she's going to feel terrible. My mom was one of the early beta testers of our proof of concept app, and she would have it call her at 5 a.m. She had to take a pill at 5 a.m. every day. So she would have it call her, wake her up at 5 a.m. And then it would say, would you like me to, connect you with David? And she would say, yes, not realizing, or maybe realizing that it's 5 a.m. So like the first few weeks, my phone would ring every day at 5 a.m. I'm groggy, like, hello. And mom would be, hey, I just want to let you know it's working. Like, thanks, mom.
Moms will always get the best feedback.
Yeah. So, it really gives them a way not only to have that interaction, but also to reach out, much easier.
Yeah. I want to go back to like that to-do list. Like I have a to-do list right here that I need to get done today. And calling mom is unfortunately not on there, even though I talked to her 2 days ago, but it's not on there. But yeah, I think it's just super important to have that automated dialogue that can do those checkups for like medication and make sure like everything's okay.
Right. And so, a customer can have as many call schedules as they want, whether it's, and each call schedule is up to 1 call a day. So it might be, you might have that call every morning just to make sure you're okay. You answer the phone and we've registered that you're there. And then they might want an additional call maybe on the 3rd Thursday of the month because they've got a book club or something like that. Might call at 10 a.m. Remember, book club's at 1:00 today. So that would just be 2 separate schedules. Or, we've been talking to some independent living facilities about using us as sort of a stopgap between the completely independent resident, right? At an ILF, they really have no interaction with the care staff on a daily basis. But then if someone might need what they call a care plan, a med plan, where they're going to have a med tech stop by their apartment every day with their medicine, make sure they take it, help them. And some people need that too, but those are very expensive. Those can be $700, $800, $1,000 a month just to have that nurse stop by your apartment every day. But there's a lot of people that need something, but not that. And so we found a lot of interest that we're hoping to start as we develop that product, to having that sort of gap filler. They don't need someone to come to their door every day to help them with the medication, but a phone call to remind them, hey, take your medication. And that phone call might come 3 times a day. Yeah. Hey, it's time for your next set of pills. So, I'm pretty excited about the calendar thing. We're also spinning off a whole other company to do like Salesforce integration.
That's awesome.
For like like field sales teams.
Mm-hmm.
So if a traveling salesperson is out on the highway between Fargo and Cheyenne, and they've got the stereo up and they're jamming and they're eating their snacks, and they might be a little hypnotized by the highway, and the pop-up notice on their phone that it's time for their 2:00 conference call comes and goes.
Yeah.
Just like mile marker 943, just comes and goes. But if the phone would ring, your car will turn the stereo down. And you'll hear it ring, and you integrate with, and that's impossible to miss.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's Fingerstring saying, hey, it's 2:00, it's time for your sales call with Acme Incorporated. Would you like me to connect you? And then we can just dump that salesperson right over their speakerphone, right in their car, completely hands-free, right into that sales call.
That's amazing.
So we're getting a lot of interest in that as well. We're actually going to spin that off as a completely separate IP based on the same underlying techniques.
That's super cool that there are so many usage cases for this. And going back to like the senior living facilities.
Yeah, that's what I really want to focus on. Yeah.
Yeah. And like there is so much, like there's a staffing shortage within the senior living facilities, and like they're looking to cut costs in a lot of different ways. And I feel like this technology bridges both of those gaps to help with cutting costs, but also fill that need for the staffing shortage in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. When a facility is onboarded with Fingerstring and has their residents and they're getting those daily calls, the staff can go to a dashboard within our app, within our site, and see exactly which residents have failed to answer their call that day.
Yeah.
We have a color-coded dashboard, so it's real easy to see at a glance. They've got 3 of them are in red. And so they can prioritize their time. A lot of facilities, depending on the staffing level and the care level, will go and knock on every door every day. And that is a lot. That's somebody's whole day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they know that, Joe in 219 and Edna in 304 didn't answer today, they can go knock on those doors first.
Mm-hmm.
And it can really make the difference between someone who maybe just didn't feel like getting out of bed that morning, or maybe someone who fell,
mm-hmm.
and can't reach their phone, can't reach their call button. And that's happened to my mom. And if they fall and they lay there for a couple of hours, that's bad. It's definitely unpleasant, but it doesn't have to be terrible. Now, if someone falls and lays there for 12 hours, 14 hours, all day into the night, that could be a hospital transfer. That could be worse. And the impact that has on a community, a senior living community, can be pretty dramatic. There's not only the cost involved of actually getting that ambulance there, getting them to the ER bills. Even if those costs are all picked up by insurance, there's still costs that are going to be borne by the facility itself, as far as the paperwork time that they have to, the staff's time out of their day to help this resident that needs help. The trauma on the resident herself, is heavy. It's heavy. Even if they're okay, just the fear of laying there. I'm going to lay here and no one's ever going to find me.
Yeah.
The trauma on the neighboring residents, seeing their neighbor being carried off in an ambulance, that's traumatic, and all these things lead to unhappy residents, which leads to unhappy staff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with Fingerstring, we can head these things off, and just these small occurrences don't turn into big, costly, traumatic incidents.
Yeah. And that's what I think is so cool. Like really, before like a solution like this, it is reactive of like, oh, I'm going to go to all 300 residents, knock on their door and make sure they're okay. But with a technology like this, you're able to really prioritize, hey, we need to go check out Judy at 2:14 because she didn't answer her phone today.
Exactly.
And prioritize that and spend time where people should be spending time. And that's really caring for the resident.
Yeah, you bet. And we've even heard about some of the older facilities actually have physical little pieces of wood that sit against the door. And like the night security will come by and set them all. And that way, the first time a resident opens their door in the morning, the little latch falls. And then staff just can walk down the hall seeing which doors have been opened and which haven't, since security went through the night before. And so we're really kind of almost a digital version of that, right? Because we can see, oh, they answered their phone this morning. They may not be perfect. They may not be happy, but they're up and they're around and they're answering their phone. It's definitely a time saver. We also think it's going to be attractive to the industry in terms of a competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm.
If your community is very much on par with the community a mile away, how are you going to compete with them for residents? Being able to say, we're using the latest technologies. We're using voice-driven AI technology to help make sure that everyone is safe and sound, and that they're getting their medication on time, and that they're staying engaged. So we think that it'll also be a good competitive advantage for senior living communities of all types.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like if I brought my parents to like a senior living facility and one down the road didn't offer this and one did offer this, I mean, it's like a no-brainer of like, oh, like they're prioritizing like being innovative with technologies. Maybe I'm saying that as like a younger person, but like they're innovative with technologies and like they're making sure their patients are happy with technology. Yeah. It's just a huge competitive advantage for them.
Well, seniors use technology.
Yeah.
We've done some research. The AARP has done a lot of research, studies, and surveys about senior citizens' use of technology. Voice-driven technology is going to be very big for that market. And, that market is going to continue to grow for at least another 20 years. After that, projections show that percentage of the population over 70, over 80, 20 years from now may start to tick down just from because we know how many people are 50 now, right?
Yeah.
But that's a long time for it to grow. And so, the AARP is seeing things like seniors' ability to understand and use new technologies. Your smartphone doesn't really come with a user's guide.
Yeah.
The apps on your phone don't really come with user's manuals. They don't really come with instructionals.
They don't.
Younger people my age and younger, people who grew up with Nintendos in the house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're just naturally curious. We just poke at things to see how they work. But people older, and I'm really on that cusp, right? At 57, right? We had a Pong machine. Okay. And you're like, what is that? It was like two black and white things and a ball bounced between them. Right. And it's like, but anyone older than me really didn't have those growing up.
Yeah.
And so I'm really sort of on that borderline. People older than me, they approach technology differently, especially in my mom's generation. She's able to use her phone just fine, but doing new things with her phone is a challenge.
Yep.
And as her eyesight deteriorates, even doing the things she could do with her phone 2 years ago have become difficult. So this is why we actually went ahead and built an Alexa skill for Fingerstring. We wanted to be able to use for a customer to use our appointment service completely hands-free.
That's cool.
So if we look at my mom, for example, she's got Fingerstring integrated with her Android calendar on her phone. But, punching stuff into that calendar is difficult. She's got to navigate to it. And those Android, I don't like Android phones personally. I'm an iPhone guy.
Yeah, I'm an iPhone guy.
So many icons. They all look the same. I can't figure out her Android phone. I'm amazed she can. And then being able to punch in, she's at the dentist office. She's getting her dentures done. She's got an appointment in 3 months. Poking that appointment in right there. She's not going to do it. Not standing in that dentist office. Hopefully she can remember to do it when she gets home.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so we built an Alexa skill just for setting appointments into our Fingerstring app. So if you have an Alexa at home, you have the Alexa app on your phone.
Yep.
So she can be right there in the dentist office, make that appointment and say, Alexa, tell Fingerstring to add an appointment for March 3rd at 3 p.m. to get my new dentures. And that's pretty much it. It'll confirm those things with her, add it right to the Fingerstring calendar. And because she's got her Fingerstring app linked to her Android Google Calendar, it goes right into her main Google Calendar as well. And so then she's maybe got that shared with my brother or with me so that we can see now, oh, mom's got a dentist appointment. And then when that day comes, her check-in call that morning says, you've got your dentist appointment at 3 o'clock today. And then an hour before the meeting, you get an appointment reminder saying it's 2 o'clock, your dentist appointment starts in an hour.
Yep.
And so, this is all part of the proof of concept that we've got out there right now. And, we think it's going to be super exciting once we start really rolling it out.
Yeah. I mean, it's an awesome product that you guys are able to offer like all these features. And that's what I was going to ask as well is like, cause like it is really, as you said, it's hard to put like a calendar reminder in like an Android, even an iPhone. Like it's not fun to do that.
No.
And so having that ease ability to just talk into it, like everyone can speak. Most people, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it just gives that flexibility and that ease of use to really integrate with your calendar and then allow Fingerstring to take care of the rest.
Yeah, it's great. I use that calendar feature every day. There was a day right when we were rolling out the first, alpha test version, I was already dependent on the calendar calls.
Yeah.
And there was a day when it was down. And, I work from home, as you can tell from the background here.
Yeah.
And my wife had the day off. It was, some random Wednesday or whatever. And I was sitting up here having lunch with her and I get back downstairs to my office and I've just got Slack messages like crazy. Are you coming to the meeting? Where are you? Well,
yeah.
Fingerstring didn't call me. So I just forgot that I had like a lunchtime meeting. I was just happily upstairs, just like having some lunch with the wife, enjoying myself and missing a meeting because I was already dependent on getting that call. But one thing I think we kind of glossed over was what happens if Fingerstring calls that senior, your grandmother, and she doesn't answer.
That's a good point.
Right. And that's really a key feature. I mean, it's useful when they do answer. We can give them reminders. We can talk about their calendars. We can connect them with loved ones. But the real use case is when they don't answer the phone, right? Mm-hmm. Now, on our consumer side, what we do is we have a retry schedule. So if they just, are in the restroom, walked away from their phone for a minute, we don't immediately like sky is falling, but we have a retry schedule. But at some point, our algorithm determines she's not going to answer today. Well, at that point, we reach out to the registered family member or caregiver. So we'll send a text or even make a phone call to you and say, your grandmother hasn't answered the phone today. And now you know your family dynamic, her schedule, how you have some idea of what might be going on. Maybe based on what you know about her, it's time to call an ambulance. It's time to jump in your car and drive over there. Also, it might be time for you just to call her yourself, and maybe she sees your number and she feels like talking to you.
Yeah.
So we've had some customers, who call me up. They call us on our 800 number, and because seniors love doing that. They love doing that. Yeah. A lot more than I really anticipated when I put the 800 number on the website. Let me tell you.
People love an 800 number.
Yeah. One woman asked me, can you have it call the police if I don't answer? And I said, we really don't want to do that, because our experience from testing with our family members has been that 99.9% of the time, it's a false alarm. Mm-hmm. It's a false alarm. The ringer was off. The battery was dead. The phone was in the kitchen and I was in the living room and I didn't feel like walking in there and getting it. And if we're calling emergency services on those kinds of things, we're going to get a lot of pushback from emergency services people. It's not going to be possible. Or, and I had one person reach out to me and said they were with a service that was calling the police if they didn't answer. And they had twice had the police out to their house because they were out in the backyard and didn't hear the phone ring. And she's like, I'm fed up with that. I don't want the police in my house. Yeah. So we really leave it up to each family to determine what is the proper course of action. My brother lives 5 houses down from my mom. God bless him. Yeah. And so, if Fingerstring calls me and says mom's not answering, I can call him and say, hey, why don't you run down there and check on her?
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's awesome that you guys do have the course of action of like something. If they aren't answering, we're not gonna hit the panic button, but like you're able to part different ways of like what can an action plan be? Do we need to call somebody else or notify somebody else? Which I think is a super important feature to have, obviously.
Yeah, it's really that was really the key feature that we wanted to build. Yeah. What if my partner's mom down in Phoenix doesn't answer the phone? We need to know that right away. Mm-hmm. And so, we've added so many other features around it that sometimes I forget that that's really the core feature. Interestingly, some of the feedback we've gotten from the assisted living community is, can we turn that off? Mm. Can we turn that off? Because one of the key time consumers, I don't want to say wasters because it's not a waste, but one of the key time consumers that facility staff have to work with is taking calls from concerned family members.
Yeah.
And so some of the facilities we've talked to have said, can we turn that off? Can we have it just notify us? And then if we need to, then we'll notify the family. Gladys went to the mall on the field trip and forgot her phone. And the Fingerstring call comes in and then it calls the family. And the family's like, why isn't mom answering the phone today? And then they're calling the facility. And the facility's like, I don't know. Why isn't Gladys answering the phone? And meanwhile, the concierge is like out at the mall with Gladys having a good time, like all this consternation is at the facility. Like, why isn't she answering? Let's go knock on her door. Let's see what's up. Because maybe they're not connected to the activity calendar. So they really wanted to sort of like limit that features. So, as we build out the facility proof of concept side of that and get those features rolled out, we're finding a lot of slightly different use cases when it's in a not a corporate environment, but in an enterprise environment versus an individual.
Yeah. It sounds like there's a lot of flexibility into like what you guys can build on like the algorithm side and like making it compatible with like what someone wants to see. Basically, for if they don't answer, like we can do this, which is awesome.
Yeah. My team are great in my consulting side of the business. I don't get to write as much code but they're just all so smart. And so we really engineered this thing. At first I was like, you guys, we're over engineering this. We're never going to need this many layers and this much separation and this much flexibility. But as over the last 2 years, as we've rolled this out to the consumer side and started planning the rollout to the facility side, I'm so glad that I let them geek out on that. because we can plug things in at any level we need to. One of the things we just rolled out on our website is the ability to get a test call. So someone visiting our site can just put in their name and phone number, and Fingerstring will call them right that moment, so they can see, how quickly it works, how friendly our voice sounds. And then as working with Ellington Digital, they're really happy to catch those leads for us so that we can, use that as like a lead funnel into our marketing.
I love that. Well, we will end it there. David, thank you so much for talking a little bit more about Fingerstring. Awesome episode just to hear what you guys are doing. And where can people connect with you? Where can people learn about Fingerstring? Please plug your LinkedIn, email, website, all that good stuff.
It's fingerstring.net. I don't know what's at fingerstring.com, but fingerstring.net is our website. And there you can watch a little explainer video and try a test call, and you can sign up for 30 days free with Fingerstring. So it's that simple.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us today. Awesome episode. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks. And you're right. That did go by really fast.